Welcome to today's Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into a mystery that spans from deep space all the way down to classified government files. We're looking at the age-old question of UFOs today, but we're going to examine it through a completely different, highly analytical lens.
So, we're actually going to start our investigation not in the distant past, but in 2023 at an undisclosed location right here in America. Two federal agents were out on a routine evening operation when they spotted this massive, glowing orange orb in the sky. And, this wasn't just a hallucination or some one-off event. This exact sighting was repeated across 3 different teams in just 2 days. 6 highly trained officers watched as this orange orb acted kind of like a mothership, literally launching smaller red craft that moved deliberately in multiple directions. A couple of years later, intelligence officials chased a similar hovering orb in a helicopter, only for it to instantly zip 20 miles away at speeds no helicopter could ever hope to match.
And it's not just a single, isolated story. There is a mountain of newly declassified government data backing up these strange occurrences. On May 8, 2026, the U.S. Department of War took a massive step. They released 162 previously classified UFO files directly onto their new portal. We're talking about files from the FBI, the Pentagon, the State Department, and NASA that were completely hidden from the public eye until now. This isn't some fringe internet theory. This is official government data.
What's really staggering here is the sheer volume of unexplained data we're suddenly dealing with. We've got 28 previously unseen videos, 14 images, and roughly 400 highly strange cases where even the US government basically admits they don't know what they're looking at. We're seeing objects that seemingly defy the basic laws of physics and inertia. Take 2023, for example, over the ocean in Greece. Military infrared sensors captured an object flying at 80 miles per hour and taking a sharp, perfect 90-degree turn. That is a maneuver that's considered virtually impossible for any known conventional drone or aircraft.
When we start mapping out this evidence, a clear catalog of anomalies really starts to cluster around global hotspots. Just looking at 2024, a mysterious high-speed object flew past U.S. surveillance systems in Iraq. Over in Syria, semi-transparent orange areas flashed for just 2 seconds before completely vanishing. And in the Indo-Pacific near Japan, an odd football-shaped craft with 3 distinct projections was spotted. So we're establishing a clear pattern here on Earth. But to truly understand this phenomenon, we actually have to look even further out. Because this mystery isn't just confined to our atmosphere. Listen to this radio call from 1965 during America's Gemini 7 mission. Just hours after launch, astronaut Frank Borman radioed Houston and said, "Bogey at 10 o'clock high." He purposely used this military combat term, which usually refers to an unidentified enemy aircraft or missile. He used it in deep space. He was describing a mysterious third object following his capsule, an object completely distinct from their own rocket booster debris.
When you look at the sheer number of Apollo and Gemini anomalies, you'd honestly be forgiven for thinking we have clear proof of extraterrestrial life. During Apollo 11, Buzz Aldrin reported unexplained cabin flashes and a sparkling laser-like light source right on the moon. Apollo 17 astronauts even photographed 3 physical dots in a triangular formation over the lunar surface. Now sure, astronauts have suggested some of these could just be sunlight reflections or atomic particles, but a lot of them remain entirely unexplained. It is absolutely fascinating. But actually, let's take a step back and look at how this whole cultural phenomenon started in the first place.
To understand how we got here, we've got to look at Ground Zero, June 1947. Private pilot Kenneth Arnold spotted 9 shining objects flying over Washington state at just mind-bending speeds. Just weeks later, in July, the infamous Roswell incident happened, where strange debris was found by a farmer in New Mexico. By late 1947, a full-blown global hysteria had kicked in, with over 300 sightings worldwide. And by 1952, unexplained objects were literally swarming on radar over Washington, D.C., causing absolute panic.
Now, the absolutely crucial turning point in this history is how a simple misunderstanding birthed an entire cultural myth. When Kenneth Arnold described those fast-moving objects back in '47, he told reporters they moved in the way a saucer would if he skipped it across water. He was literally just describing their motion, but the newspapers completely misunderstood and proudly printed the headline, "Flying Saucer." That single little twist in phrasing forever linked unidentified flying objects with disc-shaped alien ships in the vocabulary of the entire world. So, to manage this massive public panic, the US government ran Project Blue Book from 1952 to 1969. Out of more than 12,000 investigated cases, the vast majority, around 11,300 of them, were easily explained,
We're talking weather balloons, planes, or people just looking at planets and satellites. But notice that remaining fraction. 701 cases remain complete, undeniable mysteries with absolutely no explanation whatsoever.
Right, so what about Roswell, the absolute holy grail of the UFO mythos? Well, decades later, the military declassified programs that finally revealed the truth. The Roswell debris wasn't a flying disc at all. It was a highly classified Cold War spy balloon from Project Mogul, specifically designed to monitor Soviet nuclear tests. And those recovered alien bodies? Yeah, a 1997 Air Force report revealed they were actually department store test dummies used in parachute drops. It's kind of comical when you think about it, but the military happily let people mistake those test dummies for Martians because it perfectly hid their top-secret espionage programs from the rest of the world.
Which brings us to the real aha moment of our investigation. When you map out global UFO sightings and overlay them with military data, a stunning pattern emerges. During the 1950s and 60s, sightings clustered in America, Germany, and the Soviet border. Today, they cluster in Iraq, Syria, and the Indo-Pacific. So what's the common thread here? UFOs overwhelmingly appear exactly where the US military is most active or where they're deploying their most advanced monitoring systems.
The data really points us to two highly grounded, entirely earthly explanations that directly impact global security. Number one, classified US technology. Just like the Roswell spy balloon, the US continues to test incredibly advanced drones and aircraft under the very convenient cover of UFO mythology. And number two, enemy surveillance. Many of these modern UFOs are likely foreign surveillance drones spying on those exact bases. For example, China has developed high-altitude spy balloons and even a mothership drone capable of launching smaller craft, which, if you think about it, sounds exactly like the orange and red orbs those federal agents saw back in 2023.
And you know, the official government investigations completely back this up. In 2022, the Defense Department set up AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Their sole job was to investigate UFO claims stretching all the way back to 1945. In their 2024 report, they concluded quite explicitly that there is absolutely zero evidence of extraterrestrial technology or alien reverse engineering programs. And NASA has firmly supported this conclusion too. Most UFOs are just drones, balloons, rockets, or natural phenomena that people simply misidentify.
But if that's the case, why is the government suddenly releasing all these classified files without much explanation? Well, dumping these files without context is highly controversial. As we report in Partially on the Analysis out there, experts point to a few reasons. The former chief of AAR argued that releasing raw videos merely fuels pseudoscience and conspiracy theories. Furthermore, some political analysts cited in the sources suggest this can actually be used as a deliberate political distraction strategy. For instance, these analysts argue that the Trump administration utilized UFO file releases to intentionally shift the news cycle away from universally condemned controversies, like those detailed in the Epstein files. It is a really fascinating look at how analysts believe information itself can be weaponized.
Because ultimately, mystery thrives where transparency is absent. Whether it's the heights of the Cold War or modern surveillance in the Middle East, governments have a long history of letting us look at the stars so we don't look at what they're doing right here on the ground. So, I'll leave you with this final thought at the end of our explainer. When we stare up into the night sky, are we actually looking for aliens, or are we just looking at our own geopolitical secrets?